Okay, it's 4 o'clock. I'm going to start the broadcast.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us for a very special Sip and Sail cocktail hour. Together, we'll be uncovering some of Egypt's many mysteries. But before we begin, we would like to give you a few friendly reminders about the event. As it's a live event, we would really appreciate your participation. We have a team of great moderators who will be answering your questions and comments in real time, and we'll also be collecting some of the questions for our Q&A session towards the end of our hour together. If you are joining us on a GoToWebinar platform, please use the Questions tab on the GoToWebinar menu. If you are joining us on Facebook or on YouTube, please feel free just to use the comment section there. This event is being recorded. We'll archive it, and then we will be pleased to be sharing it with you at a later time. It's now my pleasure to introduce you to your host. She is the co-founder and executive vice president of AmaWaterways, Kristin Karst. I wish you a bon voyage. I turn you over to Kristin, and enjoy this evening's Sip and Sail.
Thank you, Brenda, and hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening to all of you. We are very, very grateful that you take your time to join us on this wonderful adventure to travel through Egypt today. I would like to also thank our many travel advisors and our past guests, and extend a special welcome to all of those who are watching on Facebook or YouTube. It is wonderful to feel connected with so many of you during our Sip and Sail cocktail hours. And I hope you will have lots of questions for Todd and I at the end of our virtual cruise. Those of you who know me know that I'm very passionate about river cruising, and I believe deeply that travel is a force of good in the world. There are so many wonderful sights to see and gracious people to meet as soon as the time is right for us to travel again. In the meantime, we love sharing exciting news, special memories, and insider travel tips as inspiration as you dream and start to plan your next trip. So today, I'm excited to take you to the longest and most fascinating river in the world, the Nile River. Our guide on today's adventure is Todd Ney, who is our in-house Egypt product specialist. While Rudy and I have been working with our shipbuilders to create the newly designed Amma, Todd has been busy working with our partners in Egypt to create the most wonderful experience aboard and on shore. Todd, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Kristin. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I'm excited to give everyone my taste of what awaits in Egypt for you. Our sailings begin in September 2021.
And before we get started on our cruise, I thought I would like to explain what the Sip and Sail cocktail hour is on board an AmaWaterways ship. This event usually takes place every day before dinner in our lovely main lounges, and it provides a wonderful opportunity for our guests to get together, sip a favorite drink from our complimentary cocktail list, and exchange stories from their busy day on shore. So to start our virtual Sip and Sail, we need a beverage and a toast to reflect the destination we are visiting. And for Egypt, we had many choices. Tea is considered Egypt's national drink, and there are many non-alcoholic drinks served, including a refreshing summer drink called limon, made with fresh lemons. But both beer and winemaking are long traditions in Egypt. Nearly 6,000 years ago, grapes were grown in walled vineyards all over Egypt. So for today's toast, in honor of Egypt, I have chosen a limon. And I see, Todd, you have chosen a beer.
Here.
So, and I thought that there is really no better way to raise our glass, as I was thinking about Egypt, than to have this quote from Maya Angelou. Life is not measured by the number of breaths you take, but by the moments that take your breath away. So I would like to make a toast to Egypt, a truly breathtaking land to discover. Prost.
Cheers.
This feels good because honestly, it is very hot in California now. So I was thinking that before I turn everything over to Todd, who will act as your cruise manager today, I wanted to share you a few personal photos of my experience in Egypt many, many years ago. We were there 10 years ago before the revolution broke out. And I was there a couple of times, and it was always magical. I have so many vivid memories of my first trips that Rudy and I were able to do together. So this ship, actually, a few years ago, we cruised for 5 or 6 years, was very, very popular. And this actually encouraged us to come back to Egypt now that it has become safe again. There are so many spectacular sunsets over the Nile, the vivid colors of the local markets, and the warm, welcoming people of Egypt. So those are all the memories. Right now, we live in so many memories, but we want to make sure that these memories will become reality very soon. So now, Todd, I want to turn things over to you, and I know you want to share some highlights and exclusive tours that we have planned for you, our guests, during this exceptional 11-night journey. So Todd, please take it away.
Thank you, Christine. Well, the first thing I would like to do is show off the itinerary that we have in Egypt. I'm just trying to get my webcam to work here. And here we go. There we go. So our program is actually 12 nights in Egypt. We start with 3 nights in Cairo, and then we have a 7-night cruise from Luxor to Luxor. It's a round trip on the Nile River. The Nile itself is about 4,300 miles long, and we're just sailing a small portion of it. The river itself originates way down in Lake Victoria, and there's the Blue Nile and there's the White Nile. After the 7-night cruise, we'll head back to Cairo for 1 night, and let me tell you more about it. Okay, here is just an aerial shot of Cairo. Cairo is a massive city, 23 million people. It's been around for thousands of years. The word Cairo in Arabic means the conqueror. It was actually the Egyptians in Cairo that invented the 365-day calendar. And the city itself was founded in about 3100 BC. So this is how it's going to work. You're all going to fly into Cairo. We're going to meet you at the airport. Everybody gets met at the Cairo airport. Whether you buy flights through us or not, we will still meet you in Cairo airport. In fact, we're going to meet you at immigration. And so we'll assist you through immigration, take you to baggage claim, and then you'll be transferred to the hotel immediately. The hotel we're going to be using is the the Four Seasons Hotel Cairo. It's actually rated #1 if you go to Google reviews or TripAdvisor, the #1 hotel in Cairo. What makes this hotel really special is that downtown Cairo can get incredibly chaotic at times. And so we're just staying outside of downtown, maybe about like 1.5 miles south of downtown. And this hotel is kind of a place of tranquility across the street from the botanical gardens and the city park. And I'll show you a few more photos that'll exactly explain it more. The rooms we've selected at the Four Seasons is they're called superior rooms. We're using the upper level of the rooms. And if you look over on the left-hand side, you'll see there's a view of the Nile. So all our rooms have a partial Nile view room. Also, what makes these rooms special are the size, 350 square feet to about 530 square feet. There are 6 or 7 restaurants, depending on the time of the year, in the restaurant and in the hotel, and they feature many different cuisines from around the world. And here is a view of the pool overlooking the Nile. So you can see after a long day of sightseeing, or even your long flight coming over from North America, you can see you have a scene of tranquility that sort of takes you away from the city. It's just a real nice calming effect. So after you've flown in, most flights arrive from North America into Cairo in the late evening. So we have nothing planned that night. And the next day we'll have breakfast. And then of course we'll head out to sightseeing. And first thing we're gonna do is have a tour of the Egyptian Museum. The museum itself has been around since 1902, has over 125,000 artifacts. And this is where you'll find the mask of King Tut. They actually found the mask back in 1925. We're going to spend about a half a day at the Cairo Museum. And then we're going to visit the Kahili market in central Cairo. This is where all the artisans, craftsmen, and so on live. We'll tour the market area, and we're also going to have lunch here at a world famous coffee house. This coffee house has been around since 1760, way before Starbucks. It's rated, the food it's rated 5 stars. It's one of the top rated coffee shops or restaurants in Cairo. So we'll have a great meal here. And after that, we'll visit a couple of more churches and synagogue, and then we'll head back to the hotel.
And you know, Todd, just if I can interrupt you, it's one of my favorite markets. And my tip is enjoy a minty there as well. Fresh minty is the best in this market.
Yes, and after the whole day there, we'll come back to the hotel, we'll have a little welcome reception, and then you can go to any restaurant you like at your leisure and dine. The next day, we're going to head out to the pyramids. Of course, it's a lifetime thing to see the pyramids. You know, since we were kids, we've all wanted to see the pyramids. And the pyramids, up until the 14th century, were the tallest structures in the world. They consist of about 2.5 million stones, granite and limestone. And people do ask, can you go inside the pyramids? Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But they're tombs. These are tombs. And so to get inside the pyramid, you've got to be agile with your feet. The openings are very narrow. It can be dark. So most people don't go inside the pyramids, and you can't do that the whole time either. We'll also see the Sphinx that day, and the Sphinx there's several of them, all kinds of them in Egypt, and they're basically carvings of a king and a lion's body. This Sphinx here took about 2 to 3 years to build, and what makes it really cool is that it was actually carved out of one stone. Another great thing that we're going to do this day is head over to the Mena House Hotel and Restaurant. I've stayed here several times and eaten here. The food is fantastic and the setting is amazing because they overlook the pyramids. So we'll have a gourmet lunch, and the hotel itself used to be an old hunting lodge back in the 1860s. Europeans used to come down and hunt the hippos and the crocodiles and stuff in the river. They don't do that anymore, but the building is old, it's historic, beautiful place to spend an afternoon.
Todd, I love how you say it, because for all of you who don't know, Todd is also our product manager, Africa, for our beautiful ship, the Zambezi Queen, cruising the Chobe River in the 4-country corner between Zambia, Zimbabwe, Botswana, and Namibia. And now, of course, here Egypt as part of North Africa. So you really have the best specialist that is guiding you through everything, and you are in the best hands. Every detail is so meticulously planned. And as we all know, it is all about the details. I cannot wait, actually, Todd, how you describe everything. And the Mena House, the restaurant, is one of my favorite restaurants in the world. So thank you for including this for our guests.
Yeah, anytime I hear someone going over to Cairo, visiting Cairo, the first thing I say, go to the Mena House and eat, and just because of the setting. So anyways, we've spent 3 nights in Cairo. We're going to head to the airport on day 4, and we're going to take a 1-hour flight down to Luxor. And Kristin, take it away with the cruise ship.
Yes, thank you very, very much. So starting in September of 2021, the Amma Dahlia, the stunning Amma Dahlia, and her welcoming crew will take guests on a 7-night round-trip cruise from Luxor back to Luxor. So in true AmaWaterways tradition, our guests will enjoy excellent cuisine, warm, genuine service, elegantly appointed public areas, and spacious accommodations on board the intimate 68-guest Amma Dahlia only. So here we see our sun deck pool, our exterior lounge area. We also have a massage, a hair and a nail salon, and a fitness area, similar to what you know from our ships in Europe. We see in this slide our spacious lobby, and on the next one, the relaxing main lounge. So you see actually the colors, very earth tone, terracotta, truly the authentic Egyptian or Nubian style. So sophisticated, classy accommodations, but very authentic in the colors of Egypt. So here you have one of our elegantly appointed suites, and something about our staterooms. So we do have 18 regular staterooms and 16 suites on board. So altogether, 34 staterooms for 68 guests. Our grand suite, so this is the top category on the upper deck, which is called the Lily Deck, is 430 square feet large. And then we have our master suite with 400 square feet on the Lotus Deck with the most stunning view because the suite is up front. Our SA and SB cabins on the top and the middle deck are 376 square feet large. Now this is still larger than our suites on board our regular ships like Amma Leia, Amma Christina, Amma Viola. They are all 355 square feet large. So just to compare really the sizes. And then we have our French balcony cabins with 226 square feet. And our lowest cabin categories E and D on the lowest deck, fixed windows, are still 194 square feet large. So this is the entry level category 194. But I would recommend you to upgrade at least to a French balcony or one of the suites with a full balcony, because you do want to have fresh air. It is so wonderful to sit outside on your balcony to enjoy these marvelous sunsets over the Nile River in Egypt, well, either having a great glass of Egyptian red wine or maybe some minty or some limon as I have today. So this is just a little bit about the ship. Now here you see our luxury bathrooms. Starting from category SB, we feature 2 sinks in each bathroom. Below it's 1 sink. And then we have a bathtub and a shower in the suite category as well. Now let's talk about our dining options. So this is actually still the reception area and our main lounge, but in the main lounge we also will feature our sip and sail hour where we serve you the complimentary cocktails prior to dinner once you come back from your shore excursion. So what can you expect from us when it comes to dining? Health and hygiene has always extremely important for us, not just since now the new norm. And with this, our European crew will actually oversee also our dining room, our kitchen, everything that has to do with food preparation. And that means we have our hotel manager being from Europe, as well as our head chef, and they will supervise then a team of our Egyptian crew members, but again, managed the European style. We feature traditional Egyptian cuisine as well as Western cuisine. So you always have the choice, depending on your likes, or if you're very hungry, of course, have a bite of both. So let's go to the next slide. And yeah, and of course, same like it is in Europe and in Africa and in Asia, for lunch and dinner, we serve you complimentary wines, beers, and soft drinks, and of course, always water. The wines, we will present you a lot of wines from Egypt and from Jordan, because as you heard me saying in the beginning, Egypt and Jordan are some of the oldest wine growing areas in the world. So the wine growing actually, great production goes back to 3000, even 4000 or longer BC. And the Egyptians are most famous for their red wines. But I don't know, Todd, about the beer. You have your beer for sip and sail. Do you know anything about Egyptian beer?
What I do know is that you can't find in the US. Although the Stella, the beer, is pretty popular here, but the local Egyptian beer is impossible to find here.
All right.
They're made locally with the hops in there. It's got the perfect climate for that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now, you know, I see Luxor. Luxor, one of my favorite ports altogether. I think you want to take it from here again, right,
Sure.
Todd?
Yeah, okay, so we've flown to Luxor. We're going to land, we're going to go to the Amadalia, and then we're going to have lunch, and then we're going to head out to the Luxor Temple. Just a couple of things I'd like to tell you about the tours and stuff of temples is the walking tours of the temples along the Nile usually take from 1 hour to 2 hours. Most of them are from about an hour to 90 minutes. What do you wear? There's no dress code. You can wear shorts, slacks. Just bring your sun hat because the sun can get pretty strong here. And the other thing is you should be able to stand for up to 2 hours. There aren't any benches in the temples, so good walking shoes and pretty good shape. Unfortunately, for people that have some challenges with mobility, it's a difficult situation here. We'll always try our best to accommodate everybody, but just take that into consideration. There is an elevator on the Amadalia, but these walking tours, some of them, the temples would be very difficult. There's no hand railings on the steps and so on like that. Something just to take into consideration. Okay, Luxor itself is an Arabic word and it means fortress. And one of the temples that we will visit is Queen Hatshepsut. And yeah, I always have a hard time saying it. And Magdi, if you're listening here, he told me how to say it, and it's Queen Hot Chicken Soup. That's the easiest way to say it, is Queen Hot Chicken Soup. And she reigned over Egypt for over 20 years. Very strong woman. In fact, the statues and stuff that you see about Queen Hatshepsut or Hot Chicken Soup, most of them she'll have a beard or a man's body because she was such a strong leader. Okay, another place we're going to visit is the Tomb of Queen Nefertari, and this is a special visit. Very few people get to see this tomb. It's not really open to the general public simply because of the cost. It's like $130 per person just to get in this tomb. And the tomb is the Queen Nefertari. She was one of the she was the first wife of King Ramses. She married King Ramses when she was 13. King Ramses was 13 or 15. She was very smart. She could read, she could write, and she lived to the rightful age of about between 40 and 50, probably 45, which in today's age, that would be like 95, something like that. So even when you get in this, it's the most colorful tomb. You'll even see poems written by King Ramses to Queen Nefertari. Another cool place is the Temple of Horus. And I just threw this in. We're just kind of throwing in a couple of the temples that we're visiting. And I love the Temple of Horus. And the reason that I think that's a really great place to visit is because they found this in 1860, French archaeologists, but it was below a sand dune. That's how they found it. So it was actually kind of amazing that they even found it. And this temple itself was built back around 300 BC. Okay.
My favorite. Yeah.
Yeah, here's a great picture of the Nile. And one thing a lot of people don't know along the Nile is the temples are built on the east side, the tombs are on the west side. And why are the tombs on the west side? Because the sun sets on the west side, the day ends on the west side, so life ends, you know, where the sun set. Kind of cool. Another special thing, and this is really to me, it's really cool, is we're going to visit a Nubian village on an island in the middle of the Nile. And the Nubians were the first people to settle in this land way back at the cradle of civilization. And they're very similar if you think of the First Nations in Canada or the Native Americans in the US. They were the first settlers here, and they settled in southern Egypt and northern Sudan. They're famous for their archery, and they're famous for their colorful homes. And if you look at one of their homes right now, you see all these drawings, artifacts, and so on. This is telling, the drawings and artifacts tell the story of their family, and that's what makes it really cool. So we're going to visit a special village, Nubian village on the Isle of Hessa. And at the Nubian village, we'll mix with the locals, we'll visit the local market there. And what we're doing that very few people, I don't know anyone that does it, we're actually going to have lunch with the locals in Hessa. And most people tend to go back to the ship for lunch. We're going to eat with the locals. All right, here's another Amma insider tip. Abu Simbel. Abu Simbel to me was, the first time I saw this was like, well, seeing the pyramids for the first time, seeing the statues on Easter Island, even Angkor Wat. That's how it affects you on the inside. An amazing place that I never expected. And Abu Simbel is about 200 miles south of Aswan. So if you want to see Abu Simbel, the only way to get there is a flight. The flight takes about a half an hour to get down there. And we're going to be down there for a half a day. It's an optional trip. Not everybody goes on this trip, but I highly recommend it. To me, it's a highlight of your life to see this place. And what makes Abu Simbel so special, again, King Ramses built it for Queen Nefertari, is that it was actually in the valley below. And they built the Aswan Dam back in the late 50s, early 60s. And as the water rose, it formed a lake called Lake Nasser. And it was going to cover Abu Simbel. So they took the Abu Simbel Temple. So they took it apart, brick by brick by brick. They moved it up the hill about 600 feet. And this is where you find it. And what makes us kind of special with this is that we'll let you pre-book it because there's only a limited amount of seats. And usually if you wait till you get to the ship, there's only one plane, only a certain amount of seats on the plane. Some people are disappointed that they can't go see it. So this is why we allow you to pre-book it, so you're guaranteed a seat to go see Abu Simbel. I wanted to put this in here because what makes Abu Simbel even more special is if you're there on February 22nd or October 22nd of the year, when the sun rises, it shines right through the temple from one side right to the west side. And how they figured that out, I have no idea. And the optional trip to Abu Simbel, the cost is about $325. All right, another cool temple we'll visit is Komombo Temple. And you can see on Komombo Temple that there are two entrances. This temple is about 30 miles north of Aswan, and there's one entrance for the crocodile god, and there's another entrance for the god of the falcons. What makes this, again, kind of cool is because of the crocodile god, you'll find mummified crocodiles in the temple. Another cool place that we're going to visit is the Karnak Temple. And the Karnak Temple is the largest of all the temples. And what I did want to mention with the tours, we break our groups up into 3 groups, no more than 20 to 23 people. The groups are with headsets, and you get your own Egyptologist. From the beginning of the trip, day 2, to the very end, you have an Egyptologist that you connect with, get all your information from. And the Egyptologist, there's also an Amma tour director that oversees the Egyptologist. So it's small group walking tours, makes it really special. Not 100 people, so you can't hear or see or anything like that. Makes it pretty special
And they travel with us on the ship, right? So they become part of our family and you become part of theirs. So they are not stationary guides. Similar to our Mekong product, they cruise with us on board. So you also have access to those Egyptologists during the day, during the evening, any questions from the shore excursions, they are around you pretty much all the time.
Okay, I'd like to point out one other temple here is the Temple of Hathor. And this is actually considered one of the best preserved temples. It's over 2,000 years old. And what made this temple so cool is that, interesting, is that they built a lot of pools, sacred pools and stuff, you know, for swimming and stuff. Yeah, you can go to the Hollywood Hills and go swimming in a pool, I guess, like that. But they were doing it 2,500 years ago in Egypt. You can't go into these pools now, they're filled with rocks and stuff. But I just wanted to point it out that it was kind of a, yeah, it's just special how the Egyptians, you know, things that we were only thinking about doing today and stuff, they were doing it 3,000 years ago, like the women leaders, the queens, you know, they were ruling Egypt, you know, and now it's a big deal if we get a woman as a prime minister or a president and stuff like that. It makes the news and stuff. Down there, it didn't make the news, it was just the norm. So. All right, so we've spent about 7 nights on the Nile River, and we got to head back to Cairo. So just to make things a little different, spice things up, and we decided that you've seen a lot of temples along the way, tombs and stuff. So let's do something different. It's kind of like when you're in Europe, you've seen churches and plazas and stuff like that for 7 days. By the end, yes, it's beautiful. Yes, you want to go see it. But maybe something a little different. So we do a taste of sea. We're going to go to the presidential palace. We're going to get a tour, a private tour of the palace. The palace was built back in 1860. And this is the place where dignitaries, politicians, you know, celebrity, anyone coming to Egypt, this is where they stay. The president stays here. And it's famous for its clock collection, art collection. There's a bunch of different museums on the outer skirts of the palace that we're not visiting. We're going to go right inside to the palace. And, oh, back, please. At the presidential palace, we're going to have lunch. And again, it's a private lunch in the palace. This is something that's very exclusive to us. Again, very few people do it because of the cost. And so we'll call this like the farewell lunch. It'll be a gourmet lunch, and we'll spend the afternoon at the palace, and then we'll head to Old Cairo to see the old Coptic churches, the Roman ruins and stuff, and then we'll head back to the Four Seasons for the last night. No activities are planned in the hotel for the last night, simply because most of the flights back to North America, they leave in the early morning, 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And because of that, we just feel that our guests, your clients, they want to prepare for the day, early transfer to the airport. So you go back to your room, get ready, relax, have a light dinner, and get a good night's sleep. And we'll transfer you private to the airport the next morning in time for your flight.
And I just want to repeat again, Todd, right? No matter if you, our travel partners, book the air through us or not, the airport transfers here in Egypt are always included. So we pick you up from the airport the moment you arrive, and then we bring you back.
Correct.
Okay.
With our Egypt program, we've also put together a few crafted extensions pre and post after the trip. We have Jordan before the cruise, we have Dubai before the Nile cruise, and then we do a post to Israel. You can do one or the other, Jordan or Dubai at the beginning, and you can do Israel at the end. You can do one pre and one post. First one I'm just going to quickly point out, this is Dubai. It's 3 nights in Dubai. We'll have a city tour. We'll head out into the desert. We'll have a dinner in the moonlight out on the sand dunes. We're actually going to head over to Abu Dhabi, and you can see this here, the Zayed Grand Mosque, spectacular mosque. If you were there on a Friday in Abu Dhabi, you'll find 40,000 worshipers at the mosque. We're not there on a Friday, so we're okay with that. But the 3 nights in Dubai is something special. Personally, I feel that everyone should see Dubai once. And I'll tell you one little story in Dubai. When I was there, it must have been, it was in the middle of the summer, so it was like 115 degrees, 45 Celsius. And I said to my guide, I said, I can't take this heat anymore. This isn't July. We don't sail in July or anything. And she goes, well, let's go to the mall. So she took me to the mall, and inside this mall was a ski slope. And so we spent the afternoon when it was 115 degrees outside skiing on this artificial ski slope inside a mall in Dubai. Just a little story. We also have a 4-night Jordan pre-extension. And this is 2 nights in Oman. Oman is one of the oldest cities in the world. You'll find statues in Oman that are over 7,000 years old. So we'll spend 2 nights in Oman at the St. Regis Hotel, and then we're going to head down to Petra. And you can see Petra here. It was an incredible civilization in the middle of the desert, but it survived because they built these great aqua filters from the mountains to bring the snow down. And this, unfortunately, drought eventually affected them, and they abandoned Petra. A lot of people know this scene, especially from the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. And the other thing that we're doing here in Petra is there are some hotels in Petra. There's a Marriott, there's a Movenpick, but what we've decided to do is work with the locals, and they have a 4-star hotel that's built in the rocks around Petra, and it's supported by the local community, and we're supporting the locals rather than an international chain and stuff. We just thought that it was a good way to go. And what makes it even kind of more interesting is that because this hotel, it's called the Old Petra Springs Resort, we're using this, it's built in the rock, it just feels cooler in here. Because you're built in the rock. And I remember asking my, one of our guides, Egyptologist, like in Egypt, to tell you how dry it is in this area, this whole area. I said to Dina, I go, Dina, gosh, it looks really dry here. When was the last time you rained here? And she looked at me kind of like, I don't know, like what a dumb question. And she goes, I don't know, 18, 20 years ago. So what I'm saying is we need to appreciate the rain that we get here. All right, and then we have a post-Israel extension. This is 4 nights in Jerusalem. And the way we've put this program together is just to touch a little bit on everything rather than making it sort of hardcore one religion over another religion. So we touch on, Bethlehem, the Christianity, we visit, we learn about the Jewish history. We even visit the local market in Jerusalem, look at the fruits and vegetables and stuff and have a really great lunch inside the local market. The other thing that we do, rather than just staying in Jerusalem, we'll do a day trip down to the Dead Sea. And you'll have the opportunity down there to float in the Dead Sea because it's the saltiest sea in the world. So you just can't sink there. But if you don't want to get in the Dead Sea, we're at a beautiful resort. We're going to have lunch down there. If you want to have a facial with the Dead Sea mud or salt or something like that, no problems. You can get that done. All our extensions are guided. You'll always have an Amma host with you, whether you're in Dubai, Jordan, or in Israel. And they're all guaranteed to operate on every departure that we have. Okay, we just wanted to point out a couple of recommended things. People want to learn more about Egypt and Petra and this part of the Middle East. I've watched a series recently on Amazon Prime, if you have that, and they're short episodes, and I like short episodes. They're not more than 25 minutes long, and you can learn a lot about Egypt just on these short documentaries on Amazon Prime. And you can see a list of the titles that I've recently watched: The Cities of the Pharaohs, Egypt According to Cleopatra, which I had no clue what she was up to when she was down there, and I don't now. And then there's a documentary about Petra. Of course, we have some book reading if anyone's interested, picking up book, heading over to the library, and of course Ramses the Son of Light by Christian Jock. So there's some, just wanted to give you a few suggestions on documentaries and books that you might read, and we'll post this up on our questions and answers after the webinar.
Wow. Wow, Todd, well, thank you so much. You opened the storybook. And now, so many blank pages you started to fill, and now we just have to make this reality, right?
Correct.
Every day a new story, every day you will wake up to a new view, stunning views that you will have from your sophisticated, elegant Nile River ship, our Amma. with the very, very best cuisine. And that leads me actually to the first question. Will we have a chef's table restaurant on board in addition to our main restaurant? Todd, you want to say it, or?
The answer is yes. Yes, and at the chef's table will be located on the Jasmine deck. And one thing we should notice about the ship, you'll notice they're all named after plants and flowers. So yes, the chef's table, 12 seats, will be located on the Jasmine deck. Yeah,
perfect. And it will be a special tasting menu. Again, it's a different menu from the one we are serving in the main dining room. And every guest can eat there at least once, right? At least, if there's space available. No charge, it's all included, right? Of course, then we make room again. So here's another question. In Cairo, the museum tour, are we taking guests to the old museum, still the old one, or the new one? And when is the new museum due to open?
Okay, so that's a great question. And the new museum was due to open in 2018, then it was 2019, then it was 2020. Now they're saying 2021. So the way we're doing it is we'll still say we're going to the old museum, but if the new museum does open, we'll flip from the old museum to the new museum. And in fact, I don't know what's going to happen to the old museum. We have to go to the new museum. So yes, we'll be going to the Grand. It's called the Grand Museum, Egyptian Museum.
Yeah, wonderful. Now, one very important part is the visa. Can you tell us about, are there visas needed for both US and Canadians? And are there any shots, inoculations needed for the Nile River for this beautiful Egypt program?
So the way it works for Egypt is, yes, Canadians and Americans do need visas. The best way to do it, it's inexpensive, they're $25. You can just fill out the form online, maybe a month before you're ready to leave, and they'll confirm it within about a day. They'll send you an email with a piece of paper, print up the piece of paper, put it in your passport, and when you get to immigration in Cairo, you're all set through. You get through much quicker. You can also do it on arrival, but it'll just take you longer to get through immigration. So I always recommend do it online before you go. $25, there's no hassle. In terms of inoculations, there's no recommended or mandatory inoculations. I always say just be up to date on all your vaccines. People ask about malaria. No malaria in the area, so you need to worry about that either.
Yeah, thank you, Todd. Now, we talked about the airport transfers, and of course, with the visa, our ground crew is there to help everyone to obtain the visa. But the air, is air included in this program? Is the air extra? And I believe I mentioned it already earlier, no matter if you book the air through us or if you book it on your own, we pick you up right away from the airport, help you with the visa. We are there right when you arrive. But the airfare would be extra. Airfare from the US or from Canada would be an additional fee to our 11-night program.
And the air within the program from Luxor round trip, that is included in the program.
That is included, yes, yes, because that would be quite difficult. So from the moment you arrive in Cairo to the moment you leave from there, we take care of everything. Yeah.
Your handheld, yes.
Yes. So this one came from Facebook. Will all crew be male? I guess in the past, crew was male in Egypt, so it was very hard to mix between male and female, and sailors are just male, and so it was easier to have the cleaning, everything male. But tell us what we want to do.
We want to sort of break the ice, if that makes sense, and we want to give opportunity to everybody. And this is the thing, the older ships in the crew quarter on older ships, it was just in one section. So the problem as male and female on the ships is that the women have to stay in a different section than the men. So in our ship on the Amma, we're building two sections, or it's being constructed where we'll have women will be able to be comfortable in one area and the men in another area. So yes, it won't be 50-50, but it'll be a lot better than, it'll be more than we're trying to bring more women in on the crew, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, and we support this. So how many tours on a 1-week cruise are we including, and how many guests are part of a group? So we have these 3 guides, our 3 Egyptologists.
Yes, we have 3 Egypt.
If we run full.
Everything is included for the tours and the temples while you're on the cruise. Actually, it's all included in terms of the walking temples and so on. Again, the groups are broken up into 20, 23 people with your own Egyptologist. There is an optional tour to a light show in Karnak, Karnak light show, or in Aswan. We don't include it because to go to the light show, you've got to leave at about 5 o'clock. You don't get back till 8 o'clock. A lot of people want to stay on the ship and have dinner during certain hours and stuff. So those that do go to the light show, you can have a light dinner at 4 o'clock if you want to go, or we'll have a meal ready for you when you come back. And the light shows are inexpensive, anywhere from $25 to $45. But otherwise, all the tours are included. Yeah.
Yeah, and I have done the light show at the Karnak Temple in Luxor. I would highly recommend it. It's really, really a fairy tale dream. Yeah. So another question came up here. If we book the Israel extension, are the transfers included?
Absolutely. On the last day in Cairo, we're going to take you to the airport. The flight to Tel Aviv is included. There's only really 1-2 flights a day to Tel Aviv from Cairo. And once you're in Tel Aviv, you'll be traveling with a smaller group. You'll meet our Amma guide at the airport, and away you go, city tour of Tel Aviv, and then we'll head up to Jerusalem for 4 nights. So again, you're guided the whole time.
Yes, yes. So next question, what would you say to Americans who say it's not safe in Egypt and to go to Egypt? And let me just get started with it, and then of course you take it from here, Todd. I mentioned that we have been in Egypt until the revolution broke out. That's now pretty much 10 years ago. And we wanted to build then our own ship on the Nile River. And that's what we do now 10 years later, because it's so important to have your own ship, your own product in this area of the world where you have your own standards, the high standards AmaWaterways is well known for. We would not have come back now if we felt it is not safe to go back to Egypt. There are many international river cruise lines cruising in Egypt again, many from North America. Of course, you can never say in any part of the world, right? It's never 100%. However, Egypt has really come back to a stage where we can say it is safe. We do have security guard on board as well. Obviously, well, we had this on our European ships as well after the terrorism in Paris. So that was one of the adjustments we made. And yeah, it is in the end, of course, absolutely your own decision. If you feel, yes, you want to go. However, the world is big, the world is very colorful. There are so many places in the world which we all want to see and which we should see. And so many, we feel it is safe to come back. So what would you say, Todd?
I would say, yes, we wouldn't go, if I didn't want to go there because I thought it was unsafe, I don't want anyone else going there either. And, you know, I'm very cautious. The cool thing that we've done is we're going to have our own private dock in Luxor, in Aswan, and our duty officer, you know, so we're the only ones on this dock, you know, and we'll have a security guard or the duty officer, you know, at the entrance of the dock. So our guests, it's just our ship in that area rather than congregating around so many boats, you know, walking over 3 or 4 boats to get to the shore and stuff like that. So the fact that we have our private dock makes a huge difference.
Which is also very important in those times that we are going through right now, to have our private dock that nobody else is really going and passing by and so on. So next question, does Amma own the ship? Will you have control of ship design? So we have a partnership, it's a joint venture kind of, with a partner in Egypt. We know this partner for so many years. In fact, actually, when we were in Egypt more than 10 years ago, we were actually operating together with this partner. And we feel in the very best and the very safest hands. It's a 5-star product. And yes, I can also say we are currently creating everything from the scratch when it comes to design, interior. Rudy, actually our president, my husband, I see him every day looking at every corner of the ship, you know, to make sure that, and he's an architect by design, that everything will be top notch the same way you know it from Europe. We also have a naval architect, Lauren. She's working with our partners in Egypt. We have frequent calls, weekly or more than weekly, where we, you know, really discuss. The very first plans, actually, they were good, but not as good as we wanted to have it. So we started from the scratch again, and I can see really now, and certainly the photos that you saw, they are artist renderings, but you get an idea about, you know, color scheme. And really important for us is to have the right balance, the right nuance between a luxurious, sophisticated ambience, as well as a Nubian, a traditional Egyptian decor, warm color scheme, so that you really feel at home, away from home in Egypt. So let's see if we have more questions here. I think this is it. I think one more question is coming in right now, so let's see. Okay, no more questions. Okay, all right. Well, then I would say, before it comes to the toast, we all know, and I know we have so many of our wonderful travel advisors on board. We all know that travel is one of the best ways to open our hearts and minds to diversity and promote a better understanding of different cultures. I am very proud to welcome the many multi-generational families that travel with us, as well as couples and of course solo travelers, maybe friends traveling together, maybe you know, the grandma taking their grandkids as a graduation present. Some are celebrating special anniversaries, special birthdays. Some are sharing their ancestry or love of history with their children and grandchildren. And while others are just creating family memories to last a lifetime. So I propose now our final toast to families everywhere. Continue to travel and create memories that last a lifetime. So, prost to this one.
Cheers.
Cheers. And I hope all of you either have your glass of wine or your non-alcoholic lemon, which is again very, very refreshing. And now I would like to let you know a little bit about our next virtual Sip and Sail, which will happen on June 18 with our chef, Joanne Weir. This is our guest chef. And we will look at some dishes that inspired Joanne while she was traveling on board our beautiful Amma Magna on the Danube last year. So June 18, you will all get your invitation again, but I can tell you it will be another delight to have a virtual cruise and a sip and sail with Joanne Weir. She lives in Northern California, but has been traveling around the world and truly enjoying our river cruises with AmaWaterways. And so I think it's almost 5 o'clock now in California, 8 o'clock East Coast, either time for dinner or time maybe for a movie night, or maybe to discuss your next vacation, hopefully our beautiful Egypt program. So thank you for joining us today. These are times, very challenging times that we all go through. And more than ever, we feel the need to reconnect with nature and the world around us. We hope you enjoyed spending this hour with Todd and I hope we can welcome you soon on the Amadalia or another one of our beautiful 25 ships that will be soon sailing again. So thank you so, so much, and gracias.
Thank you,
Merci.
everybody.
Dankeschön. We could say it in many, many languages. Take care, have a wonderful evening, and we look forward to seeing you soon and to welcoming you on board soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.